Hey everybody, welcome to the Anthony and Todd Show. I'm your host Trevor. I'm here with my boys Jonathan and Vincent, and today we're going to be going over the worst albums of the year. These aren't as bad as, actually no, I think these are worse than the worst tracks because we had to listen to multiple tracks that are also the worst. And then the worst tracks, we just picked the worst of the worst to talk about. This is more bad stuff.
Your logic behind that was just very, like, it makes sense, but it was just long-winded. So, yeah, we're going over the top 10 worst projects of 2019. There were so many terrible projects that we couldn't fit them all into a top 10 list, so we have some dishonorable mentions. First, the Miley Cyrus She Is Coming EP, which is just a mix of terrible country pop, some weird collaboration with RuPaul, some weird collaboration with Ghostface Killah of all people.
I like that track.
And it's just a complete mess. And the next is Avicii with Tim, which we didn't really want to put on the list because at least all the money going to it goes to a good cause. It's going to mental health awareness, which is nice, but also the electronic instrumentals on there are just some of the most blandest and emptiest I've heard all year.
I think that says something about how bad, because we just did the worst tracks. Like, Lil Dicky's also at the charity, but it transcended that aspect to still make number one of worst tracks.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, Trevor, what's number 10?
Number 10's Tool's Fear Inoculum. Sucker's an hour and 26 minutes. People were really looking forward to Tool's return, and then it ended up, I think, just being shit.
So me and Jonathan went down the Tool rabbit hole this year because I wasn't familiar with their discography, and we covered 3/4 of it this year. And starting with their debut, following with their sophomore and junior efforts, they just produced the same record, but just more long-winded each time.
Yeah, pretty much every record after their first one, which was like, it had the perfect length. It was 69 minutes. You don't need to be any longer, any shorter than that. That's the perfect length of an album. 69 minutes. But then after that, like, they just kept, like, increasing the length and increasing, like, how slow the albums would be, basically using the same basic, like, power chord structures and, like, weird change-up, but, like, the weird change-up's only cool, like, the first 5 times you hear it, but then every time you do the same change-up, it stops being as impactful.
And then we get to this new one where going back to some previous records, I feel like they're most innovative in their, like, little interlude segments, but this doesn't have, like, really any experimentation or anything like gripping about it. It's an hour and 26 minutes of drummer Dana Carey just acting like he's the biggest shit in the world and just drumming randomly. Where at times where, like, he seems like very talented.
That makes sense then.
He seemed very talented before, but here he just seems random and it doesn't agree with any of the other production. It's just like he's doing whatever he feels like in the current moment, just impromptu drumming. That makes no sense. These beat switches don't make any sense. They don't fit with any atmospheres that these tracks get. Maynard feels so polished. He has no gripping potential behind his voice this time. There's no gripping lyricism. It's all abstract nonsense, and it just doesn't. It goes on. The first track, Fear Inoculum, goes on. It's 10 minutes, but it feels like 2 hours. It just keeps on going, and the rest of this album just keeps on going and keeps on going, keeps on going, and somehow it ended, and I'm still not currently listening to it. I'm surprised that I'm not currently listening to it still. It just never ended.
It's like the cycle of waiting for the album. It never ended, and we really wish it never ended because now it's here. But no, like what you were saying, like about Maynard, like his vocals being too clean. Like one of the best aspects of Tool, like early Tool, was that Maynard had like this deeply vulnerable and like unclean and raspy voice that like added a lot of weight to some of the more abstract moments. And, like, it made it feel, like, meaningful. But, like, when you clean up his vocals and make his lyrics even more abstract to the point of just nonsense and not in a cool way like Shoo Shoo or, like, a Beefheart way, it's just nonsense. It's nonsense and there's no reason behind it. There's no weight to it. It's just, it sounds like a freshman year philosophy student who then dropped out of college, like, tried to write lyrics to an album that were so deep and so meaningful, you know, just like The Matrix. And that's what this album is.
Trevor, what's number 9?
Chance the Rapper's The Big Day. This is another super long album. It had a really bad album cover. I don't really care for it because the other 3
I thought it was
cool.
okay.
I thought, like, going off of the 3 before, Acid Rap and 10 Day and Coloring Book, like, those are really cool covers. And then all we got was, look, my I burned a CD on my computer.
So you're pretty positive. You're more positive than me. Has that opinion changed?
Yeah, it's definitely changed because I went back and listened to what was out before this, and then I went and listened to this, and I decided that it was like, I mean, it's way, way worse. I still got to give Chance the benefit of the doubt here. Like, I think that he was trying to make something good. I don't think that he was trying to, like, change the world. I don't think that he was trying to, like, I don't know, win over new fans. I just think he genuinely thought this would be a good album to release, and he released it, and it just sucked.
Like his wife, that's all he wanted to win.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's it. He just wants his wife.
So
and
this album's like 90% of him just saying he loves his wife. It's all about his comparisons to putting out his first album, to getting married, and how those are both big days. It just has some very terrible, just awful collaborations on it. Like Hot Shower was made in Tokyo and DaBaby. You have The Big Day with Francis and the Lights, which is just awful. Like these two paired up so well before, and this time it's just garbage. The same thing with Knox Fortune, Let's Go on the Run. Way too storybook like. This album was way too like Disney like. Way too clean. Way too happy all the time.
Exactly.
Way too repetitive.
I can't tell him how to feel about it. I can't tell him, like, you know, marriage is great, but it also sucks. Like, you should be unhappy in your marriage. Because, like, if he's all happy...
Not old white people.
The secret of marriage is hating your old wife. No, like, I can't tell him how to feel. And if he's genuinely happy with the product that he put out, I'm all for it, whatever, like, go for it. But also, like, I, as a fan, was really, really disappointed by what he released. Also, he just canceled his tour as well.
Did
because, yeah, he just canceled the Big Day tour, which I think also leaves kind of a bad taste in my mouth.
Also, he said fans wanted him to kill himself. He had a big pissy fit after... He had a big pissy pamper after dropping The Big Day, and fans... It wasn't well received by critics or fans. And it just made the album even worse, in my opinion, because he just felt like he tried to defend something that wasn't polished.
Right.
He just released so much shit on here. Some of it's decent, but a lot of it's just trash.
You'd have to sift through it really hard to find any sort of, like, decent parts, and that's not worth it as a fan. And also in comparison to the things he's already released that I thought were held in pretty high regard, I feel like this is just a huge, huge fall from what he was doing, fall in quality.
Yeah.
And there's like nothing against like songs or like albums that are like happy or about happiness.
It's not
like,
because
you
it's
can
happy.
make
It's just poorly written.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like Carly Rae Jepsen, like her release album, that's a pretty happy album. Like there's a lot of like happy tracks on there, and like it's still good because like it fits with the happiness.
It fits her character,
Yeah, it
and
fits her-
Chance is pretty awkward on this.
Yeah. Not like it sounds shitty to say like Chance, your happiness is awkward. Like that's a shitty thing to say.
He's
but,
just
like,
awkward
it
at
doesn't
delivering
work.
how he's happy or
Like
why
Hot
he's
Shower,
happy.
his like freestyle performance is awful.
Yeah.
Like it's just like he didn't put any time and effort behind it. He was just mumbling off nonsense.
That's I think the biggest thing. Like this doesn't feel like there's effort put into it.
Yeah. What's number 8, Trevor?
Blink 182's 9.
Which is only like their
It's our 8th album.
8th album.
They count one of their like
They count one of their demo
EPs or
album.
demos
So
as one of
here's
their
the thing
albums.
that makes no sense of this. They count one their second demo album as their first album. But then why not count the other demo album? This could be their 10th
That one
album.
sucks. That one was
lot of
good.
them
Well, this sucks.
They didn't count the what was it, the Travis, Mark, and Tom show or whatever it
Yeah.
was. They didn't count Buddha. They don't count like a lot of like ones that I would consider to be part of the discography.
It's like they're
just like,
picking
no.
and choosing where they started.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. And they're like, no, fuck Dude Ranch. That one's not on there.
I tried to compile some notes of what I thought about this album, and I was literally left blank because it's just so clean. It's so polished. They're too old to be this angsty. Like a lot of
be looking for aliens by now.
No, he left. He left.
I know. Yeah,
Tom
I know.
DeLonge actually made some like headlines this year
I saw.
with
He's making more successful things than Blink-182 as a
is
fan
sad.
base.
yeah, it's just hard to say because like everything you could have said about their last album, California, you can say double on this. It's just super cheesy, just terrible. They're just stuck in a formulaic style, and
It's pretty much at this point anti-punk with how they're making their albums, because like the whole punk movement is about doing things yourself, and they have like a fucking like team of writers writing their songs for them. And like tons of producers.
Doesn't every punk band then, in essence, become not punk?
Well, no, because
once they get big enough.
Not really, because like you have bands like Rancid, which still like do their own production. They still write their own tracks. But like when you become like a punk band and you become big, and instead of like still writing your own songs, you hire new people to write your songs for you. You're no longer like, you can't call yourself punk because you betrayed the ethics of punk.
You are capitalist, and that's anti-punk.
Basically.
And you have bodyguards, that's anti-punk.
I don't want to talk about this album anymore. I want to forget about
I
it.
want to talk about the next
Oh,
one.
the next one's near and dear to my heart and my soul and my mind and my ears.
You all have fun with this, because I tried to listen and I didn't finish it.
Number 7 is the true majesty that is YG's For Real Pharrell.
Oh, Pharrell.
This album was dedicated to someone who died earlier this year, Nipsey Hussle, who was a dear friend of YG and really respected in his community, and someone after his death that was really just really praised for how much work he put into his community. YG dedicates this album. What are some of the themes of this album, you may ask? Well, on Bottle Service, the theme is fuck poor people. Which on Go Loco is let's give Tyga a 3-minute verse over
That's a huge mistake.
over like a Latin inspired beat.
No, this is not a Latin inspired beat. This is a Mexican restaurant inspired beat.
He went to El Toro and he was
Taco
just
Bell is beat.
Yes.
you have some terrible lyricism, and one of the worst lines of the year on the track I Was on the Block with now you on my dick, so I'ma hold y'all. Yeah, I had a meeting with Kanye. Yeah, we had a good convo. These were the words from Kanye. Fuck being humble, act an asshole.
Even Kanye went against this year. Like, YG is clearly the only one still thinking this.
Like, this is probably the main issue I have with this album, is that like after Nipsey Hussle died, like I read a lot about like the work, and like he does seem to be a genuinely good, caring person who cared a lot about helping the downtrodden and the poor of his community. And to dedicate an album to him where your whole like one of your major songs is be an asshole, fuck being humble, and fuck poor people,
fuck snitches.
Yeah, you can't dedicate an album
real.
to somebody who cared that much about being humble, about taking care of people and taking care of poor people, and then release an album like that. That's basically just disrespectful.
Yeah.
And disrespecting your memory. If you're gonna dedicate it, make an album about like his ideas and the things he stood for, not completely counter to them.
The only good things about this is the stupidity on Stop Snitching and the fantastic actual tribute to Nipsey Hussle of, I think, a eulogy speech he
They
had.
did one, yeah. I think
Which
there was
was
one
very-
kind of at the beginning and then at the end. And
Yeah,
the
which
end
was
really good.
was really nice, but like everything surrounding it. Keisha Had a Baby featuring Rolls Gold.
I
One of
hate
the most
that song.
paint by the numbers narratives I've ever heard in hip hop. We've heard like 1,000 stories about an underage girl having a baby and not being prepared for it. This brings no nuance to it. We have Do Not Disturb featuring Kimaya and G-Eazy, which is just terrible. Stop Snitching, the Baby remix, which the Baby's mixing is just terrible.
Yeah.
Like they just fucked that up terribly. That's the last image you're left with on this album. That's it. That's rest in peace, Nipsey Hussle. May this be his monument.
You deserve better.
What's number 6, Trevor?
It's the Ed Sheeran's number 6 collaborations project.
Number 6 is number 6.
Oh, hey. How'd you do that? This is very similar to the DJ Khaled record. We talked about it on the worst songs, where Ed Sheeran basically collabs with a bunch of people that he really never should collab with and creates some of like the most radio friendly mainstream pop fodder out there. Ed Sheeran's really using his pull in like pop music right now to pull together all sorts of like random artists to make songs.
Get it rolling, Game of Thrones.
I mean, yeah. I also don't know really what makes him special, because like he is definitely not showing it on
here. He
here.
can occasionally rap, and mainstream thinks that's cool.
I think what makes him special is that he's like the ultimate like safe for radio artist right now.
Yeah, I also think his story, like being picked up off the streets, was good as well.
Yeah. So what are some of the terrible tracks on here? Well, we have Cross Me featuring Chance the Rapper and PNB Rock, which is just completely nasty mix of trap and pop, which is disgusting. Antisocial, which we talked about in the worst songs, which is just a sicko mode ripoff. I Don't Care with Justin Bieber, which is one of the paint by numbers pop songs. One of the most.
That's also one of the biggest songs of the year.
Yeah, I don't understand how. Remember the Name featuring Eminem and 50 Cent, which the worst thing about this is Eminem's the best part.
That's a
Eminem
sad,
actually tried.
Sad realization.
And 50 Cent was there for a paycheck and probably a sandwich. Because he's not doing too much besides.
Go back
not
to making
good.
video games. Those are at least fun.
He needs to go back to making Indie Club.
You have tracks with LMI and Her, which are, again, just some terrible paint by numbers R&B collaborations. You have Meek Mill and A Boogie with the Hoogie just being really angry on a Thousand Nights. Meek Mill just does this traditional scream rap thing where it's not like screaming, it's more just being very like tempered.
Yeah.
Just angry.
Just a little annoying.
Like I want to see your manager type voice. You have a terrible rock R&B country collaboration with Blow featuring Chris Stapleton and Bruno Mars. You have a terribly produced song by Skrillex on here. And then you have a poor attempt at grime featuring Stormzy on Take Me Back to London. This thing just puts its hand in all different types of pots that it should never, ever put its hand to.
Ed Sheeran was already making grime music though.
I think we're going to leave it on that statement. Number 5, we have Sleaford Mods with Eton Alive. It's 38 minutes. It features vocalist.
Unbearable for all 38.
It features vocalist James Williamson and musician Andrew Fern, who really just doesn't do anything. Just compiles some terrible mix of
Basic-ass beats.
post-punk
It's just there.
and trap. It's unbearable.
Yeah, Sleaford mods, for what they are, they're important for like their scene. They're important to like British like weird like post-punk music, but they can't handle an album's length of anything. They're good in like small doses, and this album showcases that like they can't even handle their small doses well, because even on like their best tracks, like just like there's this one that's like got like a bunch of random letters. I can't remember exactly what they are and what order they're in. That's their best track on here, but even it has like this weird moment where it just suddenly just becomes like unlistenable. They can't even maintain like one song on this album's worth of like quality, and it's poorly produced. It's basic as shit. The vocalist is super annoying. Like I would probably hear better vocals going to like a fucking karaoke bar in Britain than what he produces. And it's unbearable to listen to the full thing. It's unbearable to listen to like the opening track.
And that's it. I don't really want to talk about it. I just found it's really annoying.
I like the name.
Eaten
It's a good
Alive.
name. I like
It's
the
okay,
name, too.
name.
Yeah.
The album art's terrible.
Yeah, that album art's really bad.
Jason Williamson is just terrible. Like he's just annoying. He sounds like what Murdoch from the Gorillaz is.
He's been on this like one-man campaign against idols for like 2 years. Like, have you read anything about? He fucking hates idols and Joe Talbot. And his entire reason,
Probably because they're actually good.
his entire reasoning is that he like got this idea in his head that like Joe Talbot like is like co-opting like the working class culture for his music, and like he speaks with like a working class voice. We've met Joe Talbot and talked to him a little bit. That's just his fucking voice. That's just what he sounds like. Like
He is the working class. He had a vape when we went to see him in
That's
concert.
big time the working
and it's
class.
just like he's basically been on this weird thing. At one point, like Joe Talbot made like this weird comment on like a news story about like the 1975, where he basically was like Matt was going like, yeah, like we're doing things that no one else is doing in music right now, and Idol's just like, try listening to more music, and that's literally all he said basically. And then like fucking Jason is like, oh, we got a middle class fight going on, middle class turf war, and everyone's like, dude, just shut
there
up.
was so much turmoil in British music.
Yeah, Jason just hates Joe.
Has he
and-
tried to be like the poorest person?
I don't know. Like he has a mansion now, like because of how like successful like their music has been, and like Joe's just ignoring him.
He sounds like YG.
Yeah, it's just sad. Like he's trying so hard, and Joe is just ignoring him like every step of the way.
Okay, yeah, I don't want to talk about Sleaford mods because I'm just gonna keep on
We
laughing.
want to talk about DJ Khaled.
Number 4, DJ Khaled, son of a
father of
son.
Asahd.
You know this album? It's not some mystical shit. It's not some mysterious shit. If you go to a barbershop, you can hear this album. direct quote or direct paraphrase from
hate
DJ
that.
Khaled. So what is DJ Khaled's son of Asahd?
It's father of Asahd.
Oh,
he's the dad.
He's the dad.
Asahd is the son.
Oh,
Yeah,
in the Holy
If there was
Spirit.
a son of Asahd, that would be
you kept putting it like
like
wrong in
negative years.
Yeah, you kept putting it like wrong in all the lists, and I felt like correcting you, but I was like, nah, we'll wait till the actual show to correct you.
well, he's. I think his son's making more moves than him. He doesn't do shit, and he gets paid, and doesn't even have to scream on the track.
He can swim well. DJ Khaled should be an Olympic swimmer.
Okay, so what's bad about this? Well, for one,
Everything.
well, there's some moments, but like the moments aren't because of DJ Khaled. Just because like he'll get like Post Malone and Travis Scott in a room, and it'll be like, okay, it won't be terrible, but like a majority of this is
I don't know,
just
to be honest, like I don't feel like we need to talk about every one of these tracks because it's literally, we've talked about it before, like DJ Khaled doesn't do anything. He like barely produces, and when he does produce, he might as well have bought that beat off of like some 13-year-old trap producer in New York. Like every beat on here is so uninspired. All the production is uninspired. It like doesn't work with any of the artists that he's pulled together. So he pulled literally anybody from like Chris Brown to Meek Mill to Rick Ross, Jay-Z, Beyonce was on here, Justin Bieber, Chance, Quavo, and of course Big Sean, the best of them all.
on the track. Thank you.
Yes, we're all on this record, and the production is the exact same for every single one of them. Like, do you get some better performances from some? Like, yeah, I think Top Off with Jay-Z, Future, and Beyonce is like decent. Or I think like the track with
It's decent, but they don't feel important.
no, they
Because like
don't-
Jay-Z and
nobody,
Beyonce.
Nobody feels important. Like Jay-Z and Beyonce are on the same level here as like Gunna.
Yeah.
And whereas in real life the levels would be like here, but like on this album it completely levels the playing field. Some people say the Cemetery is the great equalizer, but DJ Khaled is the great equalizer.
After release of this album, he got really angry that he didn't get number one on Billboard, that he got overcharted by Tyler the Creator, Billie Eilish, because they put out mystical shit because those albums apparently don't exist. You can't listen to them. You have to climb to a top of a mountain and with the right wind, corresponding wind, you can hear the album.
Yeah, it's not like Bad Guys all over the fucking radio or anything.
Yeah, it's not. Some terrible moments from this I want to list off. No Brainer, which made her list last year for worst song. She's a terrible.
Now we got to talk about it again a year later.
Thank You, which made our list this year. Just any moment featuring Lil Wayne on here. Any moment featuring Chris Brown. And finally, the most important one, Just Us featuring SZA, which samples Miss Jackson poorly, and it's just a rip-off of Miss Jackson. Like, there's no nuance behind it.
No, it's a little annoying. They basically just stole the beat.
And also the music video where SZA and DJ Khaled are like warriors makes me very uncomfortable. I don't know why. I think it's probably just the idea of DJ Khaled with a sword and armor on.
That sounds kind of cool.
No, it makes me very
It makes me
uncomfortable.
think of that picture of CeeLo
needs
Green
it.
and the gladiator.
He needs it so that he can protect himself when he gets lost on his jet ski.
Thank you for...
DJ Khaled used to be, I think he used to be really funny and like a really decent figure in music, but he's really devolved. I think, unfortunately, since Major Key in 2016, where he made like his big comeback and actually like was a good record, and now I think that his fame has like just really spiraled him out of control.
Yeah, and apparently he doesn't eat pussy. That's
Yeah,
that's what
I-
Jonathan told me. I don't know if
I
that's...
also
He
heard
doesn't
that story.
reciprocate.
Yeah.
Like an asshole.
Yeah. And you know who is an asshole? Our number 3 spot, Iggy Azalea with
Iggy-
In My-
You
You can say that for literally the
Igloo
next three
Ghost.
artists. Is an asshole.
Yeah. Number 3, Iggy Azalea with In My Defense. Iggy Azalea, the person behind the key 2014 hit, Fancy, Charles the XCX, apparently never left 2014. She's just stuck in that year. And this new album is just like unbearable. You get the opening track, Things I Get, where she thinks she started this type of revolution in hip hop when she's just mostly just appropriating black culture, and she has over the course of her entire
I
year.
don't understand what she thinks that she like started, because if she thinks that she started like women rapping, that she didn't.
No.
But if also she thinks that she started white people rapping. She also didn't.
And you definitely didn't start like appropriation of black culture by white people. That's been going on forever.
You get tracks that are just fumbling, nonsensical. I can't even explain the word. I don't know what would be a good thing. I was going to say odysseys, but it's not more of a trip. It's more of just being locked in a basement. You have Homedia with Lil Yachty, where Lil Yachty is like awkward. He's like funny, but
awkward.
like in this, it's like emphasized to the point where like I think Lil Yachty like needs some help. Because like he just seems completely just like out of control on here. Just like nonsensical bullshit. Like usually that's funny, but on here I'm like,
I think
maybe tone it back.
I think he's being played up for laughs a little too much here.
On clapback, Iggy says they call me racist. The only thing I like is green and blue faces, which is
She likes strangulation and vomiting.
Unstarted. She truly shows that this album's stuck in 2014 with the line, "You know my temper is way shorter than a vine."
Because that's still relevant.
Vine is still relevant. It'll always be relevant.
On Fuck It Up, she literally just takes the melody from Fancity and uses it again. On Freak of the Week featuring Juicy J, it sounds like Juicy J. It's like a Juicy J impersonator. It does not have any of the bouncy qualities you expect from a Juicy J, any of the southern trap flair you would expect from Juicy J. It has this terrible hook with her repeating Freak of the Week over and over again. It has this quiet, quiet, muffled beat that is so in the background that it almost doesn't exist. And E vocals almost come off as muffled, and it's just like the composition is so murky and ugly. On Pussy Pop, it has these like terrible 808s with no effort production, while Iggy is completely has her own head up her ass, acting like this track goes hard, when in reality she's just a cornball. Best example by the line, "Water got that Fiji, got green like Luigi. Yo man wanna eat, give me head just like a beanie."
Which I don't... That's not a good way of giving head.
I just think about the line and it's just like, it's just I can't grip it.
Just this whole album is filled of Iggy with her head so far up her own ass, thinking she's so important, completely lacking any form of self-awareness. And every attempt she makes of like countering and defending herself from like her very legitimate criticism just makes her case even worse.
That's it. Time to go to another asshole. 93 Punk with their self-titled debut. 93 Punks. What's 93 Punks? Well, it's a collaboration of Vic Mensa and Bad Brains frontman HR.
You
and
picked the worst member of Bad Brains to collaborate with.
Human resources.
I'm sure Trevor, you were there when I talked about Trevor. You're probably not familiar with Bad Brains that much, are you?
Not that much.
Okay, basically, little brief history. Bad Brains is one of like the key like hardcore punk bands, especially from like the DC area.
Right, I
Like,
did know that.
Yeah, they're also important for being like one of the like very few all black punk bands. And basically, in recent years, they've been getting a lot of controversy because, like, back in the earlier days, they made a lot of homophobic remarks. They had a super homophobic album, and they, like, HR was the worst of it. He was the one who made the most comments, but he's also the only one who never apologized. Also, in modern day, HR keeps trying to do, like, comeback tours, and basically they're all really old and they play really slow. But HR is basically, he goes up there and he just stands there and like will just kind of mumble to himself because HR has had massive brain damage since like their heyday.
That's why he has
That's
bad
the
brains.
bad brains.
And so basically, if you're going to pick any member of Bad Brains to collaborate with in 2019, HR is the person you least want to do it with.
So this thing tries to mix trap, post-hardcore, emo, and pop punk, and it's just a mess. It tries to be political, but it's just edgy.
It doesn't understand its own politics. Like, the most political track is Camp America, which seemingly is trying to talk about, like, the, like, internment camps that they've been putting, like, immigrant children in.
Yeah.
But its combination of metaphor and, like, just saying things makes it confusing to how much Vic Mensa actually understands what's going on.
See, when I listened to it, I didn't get the metaphor for like internment camps at all because I thought Vic Mensa was just talking about a white privileged Camp America.
A summer camp.
He's just talking about a shitty summer camp because I didn't think Vic Mensa had any depth to him whatsoever.
So, like, yeah, like, on that track, like, it's his most political, and it's the one where you can almost get a point, but you can't even tell how much he's like fully aware of like what's going on or the context surrounding it, so much as he's like, hey, throwing kids in camps is bad, and that's the extent of it.
Some other bad tracks. Definition of fuckboy with Vix Mensa gives the definition of fuckboy and truly just describes himself. Fist Fight with Loco the Mask,
which is the worst example of like stereotyped punk culture, like in the history of people talking about punk culture, including like stupid conservatives talking about punk culture, where he basically boils down being punk to fighting people in parking lots.
What's the hook again? I can't remember.
Fist fight in the parking lot. fist fight in the parking lot.
That is pretty punk.
You have terrible features from Tom Morello and Good Charlotte, Travis Barker.
The best name in punk you can get is Good Charlotte, like you're doing something wrong.
Best punk name you can get, Lil Wayne. Best punk guitarist. You have the terrible collaboration between Francis and the Lights.
That's pretty punk.
No, but it's not like how do you think this track goes, Trevor?
Does it sound more like Francis and the Lights, or more
It's just
like,
Francis and the Lights.
Sampling the earlier song I Cry Too over it.
does that mean it's better than that?
It's the
93
best.
punks?
It's the best track on the album, but
Okay.
it's also completely fucking random and doesn't fit with anything around it.
Okay.
It's
Very
just
weird track to close an album with. When you have
that's
like
the closer.
Yeah, that's the when you have like shit that's trying to go hard like Fist Fight, or you have United States of Evil, which just has Tom Morello like wailing the shit out of his guitar while Vic Mensa like screams and like the super distorted vocals over it. And again, like, it's his attempt to be political, but he doesn't say anything. The most political thing he says is burn the White House down, but he doesn't even give a reason behind it other than just, let's just burn it. Let's just burn the White House down.
Okay.
I'm cold.
Do it.
Everybody's really cold.
Yeah, I hope there isn't any more collaborations with this because
Let's hope there's not a 94 Punks.
Who would the 94th punk be?
take one down,
No way.
take one down, pass it around. 93 punks on the wall.
That was my joke.
I know, I stole it. Okay, number one is a weird circumstance. So we came up with a definite answer to what our number one was, but we didn't know how we should treat the artist and the other project they released this year. So we decided, as a buffer,
It's a double album.
we're gonna put both these albums at number one because I think they kind of benefit off each other in their terribleness. Supermarket and Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, both by Logic. So his first one,
This was a bad year for me having to review, because I reviewed both of these albums.
first one, Logic made a book, then he made a soundtrack to that terrible book, in which he plays this character who has this time machine, and
Kinda.
he's just very
Rapey.
to this girl. He goes to the supermarket every day to see her. He buys way more groceries than he needs, and it just comes off as very creepy, almost like he's stalking this girl.
He literally says on one of the tracks, like, don't run and hide, give, like, your man a ride, which, like, if she's running and hiding from you, she doesn't want to have sex with you. Like, that's rule number one.
You have terrible tracks like Bohemian Rhapsody, which is not a trap song. It's along with this rest of this album, it's a shitty indie pop 2000s, a shitty indie pop song from early 2000s. You have him terribly interpolate Can I Kick It and sample it so terribly. It's just god awful. You have production from Mac DeMarco on here, which just sounds like Logic terribly singing over quintessential Mac DeMarco guitars, that like hazy guitar aesthetic, which is beautiful, but like
much as-
Logic should not be over top of it. You have the song Lemon Drop, which starts off with "Come get me, but don't hit me. I smoke weed, so I'm trippy. Get litty, get gritty. Rick Sanchez, get swifty."
Which I don't think, like, nobody uses, like, I'm tripping on weed as, like, a phrase. So, like, he's not trippy. Like, you get high on weed, you get stoned on weed, you get trippy on acid. Like, I don't think he does drugs or understands how drugs
There was
work.
something in the weed, evidently.
He has some laced ass weed, and that would actually explain both of these albums.
Also, there's a weird a track towards the end where he's talking about seeing this girl dying over and over again, and he wants to like go back in time and stop it. But like my idea on how I think time works, which is it's all just like one linear motion. So if you go back in time, you could like see yourself, but like you can't like replace yourself, if that makes sense. So basically what's happening is this girl's dying and she's surrounded by 30 logics who keep on going back in time, and none of them can save her because she's already dead in the future. So 30 logics are just sitting there trying to help her,
which is just the most terrifying possible outcome.
And this leads us to Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, which is after being disgruntled and having just terrible reviews on Supermarket, Logic tries to get his daddy to save him.
A dad which he's repeatedly talked about in past albums he doesn't like.
So yeah, what are some bad tracks on here? Confessions
all of
them? Yeah, but some of them are better or more ironically fun than others. Confessions of a Dangerous Mind is him trying to explain his own take on how he's being critiqued and how he thinks he deserves more, but it's not really thoroughly explained. It's just more showcase that he's just a jackass. You have Homicide featuring Eminem, which both of them are just nonsensically speaking fast. That doesn't make any sense. The rapping on here is just pointless.
Rapping fast was cool, like in the 90s. But like now everybody can pretty much do that if they want to, and it's about how you do it. Just rapping fast isn't impressive anymore.
On the track Wannabe, Logic acts like everyone wants to be him and is just ripping off his style. On Part of My Ego, Logic says it's okay for him to act the way he is because he has a huge ego, and that's okay.
That's not how that works.
You
It's
have
called being a narcissist.
You have Icy featuring Gucci Mane, which is one of the dumbest tracks I've heard all year. It's kind of pleasant, ironically. I would say the same about Don't Afraid to Be Different featuring Will Smith, which it's so cheesy.
It's so bad.
It's
so inaccurate because you're talking about not being afraid to be different, but then you're just the same generic bullshit that you've been doing for like forever, and that you're ripping off the same people you've been ripping off forever.
On the track Still Ballin', Logic shows us that Wiz Khalifa is still making music for some reason, even though he has done the same thing for the past like decade at this point. And then I think it's at the beginning of Homicide or at the end of Confessions of the Dangerous Mind where Logic's dad goes, "You know why you're great? Because you came out of my balls." And then his dad has a feature later on Bobby. And yeah, I just want to forget about both Bobby Shmurda.
It's so impressive how Logic's trying to prove that he's so great and he's so hard, but then he has to have his daddy come and protect him. It's amazing. This album's terrible. Both his albums are terrible. I can't stand Logic. If he never makes another piece of music again, that'll still be too soon.
Yeah, but I want Will Smith to make more music.
Yeah, Will Smith should keep making music.
I miss you.
But
Will
his son
Smith.
can stop. His son's good for the next millennium.
Yeah.
And that's it for this week's episode. No, it's not a week. This day's video of the Anthony and Todd Show. Tomorrow we'll be back with the best songs of 2019.
Why did you try to go British right there?
So it's a hint.
Nanti.
It's a hint.
Oh.
Yeah. If you know my bad accents, you know what I was trying to attempt.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. Until next time, guys, I'm Vincent.
I'm Trevor.
I'm Jonathan.
See you, boyos.
Bye, everybody.